Great day, amazing souls. How are you feeling? So, today I come with an authentic one, y'all. So, today's transmission, I'm going to title this There's Grace in Being Objective. There's grace in being objective. Now, let me explain why I say this. So, I'm sitting here and I'm reading a book. And I always tell y'all, I'm enthused with the numbers. I feel elated when I dive into the numbers. So I know I'm my life's challenge is a number two. And when I found out the element that predominantly rules my beingness, right? I was in shock. I was like, whoa. And my brother, he's a great astrologer, and he always say, you're sensitive, you're sensitive. And it just started really making sense after a while, right? Because it was like I wasn't understanding things. So fast forward a year or two, this was, I believe in 2020, there's a Reiki healer, Reiki master, I'm not sure his title, but to find him, he's on a House of Healing Light, I think it is, on Facebook. You can find him on Facebook. And he told me one time, he said, you know, your empathy dial. I was going through something emotionally, and he told me, he said, your empathy dial, you have to learn to tune it. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, there's an empathy dial, and you have to know when to crank it up and when to turn it down, because everyone does not need, or everyone does not deserve your empathy. If we remember that everything is energy, frequency, and vibration, right? We will understand the empathy a lot more, especially to those who are who are predominantly the water element, right? So I was laying in my bed and reading this book, and all these questions and all of these ideas and all of this wisdom just started flooding. And I'm like, well, all my life I've been very sympathetic and, more importantly, empathetic to others. Like, there was a time where I wouldn't even cry. However, I was able to relate in so many ways, right? And the universe has been taking me down this path of pausing when my empathy dial goes up to 1 trillion, because it goes up to 1 trillion really, really quick. And that is not the proper way to deal with things. In order to be balanced, we have to be objective, right? And let me give you an example of this. So, say that you're a judge, right? I don't know why every time I turn my phone that way, it loses focus. That's weird. That is really weird. Okay, but anyway, um, a judge, he's hearing a case, right? And is this lady that comes in there giving this sad sob story about um she's being homeless and she's lost her child to the system, and someone took her money, and all the while she's giving this empathetic story to feel like a victim, but all the while she's lying. And the judge has to stay objective to be able to see both sides, or to be able to hear both sides. And that is what they're trained to do, to be able to balance that empathy scale. And a lot of people say judges don't have empathy. Well, I don't think that's true. There are some individuals that are different. However, I think we all, on some kind of, um, well, because it could be seen intellectually, right? But however, the judge will not empathize with a liar, with a known liar, right? Especially if the other opposing party has proof that this person is lying. And it's like, well, that is the greatest thing. And that's why I say it's grace in being objective. Because when you're objective, you can see both sides. Just like someone that'll come up to you and say, "Oh well, you know, I, I'm out here stealing, killing, destroying because I went through the foster care system and my space was violated as a child, and you know I steal to make money because I don't know what else to do. That's not an excuse, right? Things that happened in our childhood cannot be an excuse for where we are today. And yes, there are some individuals that do not know how to let things go or know how to process certain feelings and emotions. However, we can't keep blaming the past for where we are today unless there's some psychological issues going on or some mental issues that excuse them from it, right? However, what I'm saying, there are some souls who blame their parents for being who they are today, for how they respond to things, how they react to things. Okay, my father used to say, I once was a child and I spoke as a child, but now that I'm grown, right? I do grown things. It was something to that effect. It was some kind of Bible thing. I don't know, religious thing. But the point is, the empathy has to be objective. And this is something that I am in the process of learning. And I am so grateful for that. And I thought that I would share this because it's very important. We don't understand how the emotions and feelings can affect us mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. 718 gratitude, right? It really, really can. And what happens is if there's no flow, if there's no chi moving, then there's a blockage. And then we'll say, well, I'm not making no money. Well, the reason is because there's a blockage. There's a blockage. There, 9 times out of 10, there's something that we're holding on to that we have not let go of that prevents the flow, that sends us into that mindset of lack. And it's this healing modality that I've been learning lately. And hopefully, I'll be able to begin practicing it soon or speaking more about it soon. However, for right now, I'm just diving into healing me, right? Okay, okay. Healing me and loving me. And I encourage us all to take that route, to be encouraged to um, be objective, especially to ourselves. Understand that we all, not one of us, not two of us, not 5 million of us, all of us are going through this thing called life. And we all have challenges that we have to face, right? That's the inevitable. How do we get there? How do we have grace for ourselves? Well, the first way is to be objective with ourselves. Understand that we've been through things, okay? Understanding, overstanding, understanding, understanding, you know. So, with that being said, if you haven't heard it today, I love you. I love me. I love us. I love we. Be objective. Peace.